Ready? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. My name is Marla Billinghurst. I will be chairing the panel this afternoon. To my left is Mr. Robert Grodzik, and to my far left is Ms. Gisela Rempel. The assessor this afternoon is Ms. Victoria Ho, and our recording secretary is Ms. Kelsey Harrison. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that applicants or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to those matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the Board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony, followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. And as information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. I also ask that everyone please turn your cell phones off. Thank you. The first matter on today's docket is 880 Scotland Avenue, Unit 308. Would you please come forward?
Do you swear in or affirm? Could you please state your name, Victoria? And do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Would you like to swear in or affirm without?
I'll affirm without.
Could you please state your name?
Erica Petrov?
And do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Do you have any evidence for me?
I do. I was told to bring 6 copies.
I only need 5.
I was going to say it looks like only 5 are required.
Thanks.
Can I sit?
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, have a seat. Thank you very much. So please proceed when you're ready.
Okay, subject parcel ID is 12097754700, located at 880 Scotland Avenue, Unit 308, located in the neighborhood area of Earl Grey. It is an apartment-style condo built in 2010. It is on 1 floor. It is 850 square feet. It has 2 bedrooms, 1 full bathroom, central air conditioning, a balcony, and the 2020 assessment is $227,000. I have 4 comparables brought here for the board to look over today. They're all units within the condo complex, all built in the same time frame. All 1 floor, 850 square feet, 2 bedrooms with 1 full bathroom, central air conditioning, and all have balcony or sunroofs. The range of sale price goes between $223,000 to $232,500. Sales expanding to the 2015 year. Based off of these comparable sales, I believe that this property is supported.
Thank you very much. Do you have questions for the assessor?
Not at the moment. Can I come back for later if possible?
If something comes up with the evidence. Ms. Rumpel, do you have any questions for the assessor?
I have no questions, thank you.
Mr. Gradza?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Nor do I. Okay, please proceed with presenting your evidence.
Okay, so my property was purchased in early 2019. I purchased it for $160,000. I provided documentation from my lawyer as well as a statement of adjustment to my bank providing proof of the purchase price. At the time of purchase, the property was assessed at $232,000. It's been reassessed to $227,000. And that has also been included in your package. So I purchased the property as a foreclosure. Now, I do recognize that some people would argue that purchasing a property at a foreclosure price does not represent fair market price. However, the property had been for sale for a number of months, and I confirmed with my realtor at the time I put my bid in, despite the fact the property had been out for quite some time, there were no other bids that had been placed on it. So, because no other offers were put in, as far as I'm concerned, what I purchased it for is fair market price. That is the most you'd be able to get for the property because no one else was interested in purchasing it. In fact, it's possible it could have gone for lower had I not put my purchase or my bid in when I did. When I took possession in March 2019, there was another unit that ended up getting listed. It was originally listed at $209,000. It ended up dropping to
Sorry to interrupt you. The issue is we have to look at, we can only look at things April 1st, 2018 or prior, so unfortunately, to establish the date for this. So I appreciate
no problem.
your argument, but this is post-reference date, so we can't put any weight to this evidence.
Okay. Well, then, looking at the sales data from the city's condominium sales book for 2016-2018 as provided in your package, you can see that in 2016-2017 there were properties that were selling around the $232,000 mark. However, by the end of 2017 and by early 2018, prices had dropped significantly in their sales amounts. They went to around $208,000, and then one property ended up selling for $177,500. So there's a clear indication that sales prices for units in this condominium complex have been steadily declining, and it's a very, very far cry from what they're actually selling at, which at this point in time is now varying between $160,000 for me and $200,000 versus what the city has been assessing them at, which is between $225,000 to $232,000. And that's upwards of a $74,000 difference. That's really significant. So based on these specific facts, I feel it's unreasonable to be paying property tax on a property that is valued at $227,000 when if I chose to put my condo on the market tomorrow, there's no way I'd be able to get that value for it, especially given what the units have been selling for leading up to this point in time. What more, the property taxes are based partially on the property's assessment value, and this assessment value, I'm guessing, is a little bit of an arbitrary figure. It's sort of based on previous, what the units were previously sold for in the past, and that's how you kind of get your information. But I have to assume that the assessment value taken into account for my condominium complex has not taken into consideration the fact that the complex has been in an ongoing lawsuit with its builders since 2012. This lawsuit is public record. It's being handled by our lawyers at Fast Tripper. I'm happy to provide the information for them if you would like. But this year alone, we have paid out nearly $10,000 in legal fees to our lawyers who are dealing with the ongoing issues taking place at the condominium complex. And this is highlighted in what I've included in your package, you can see that an additional $5,000 in legal fees has been set aside for the 2020 condominium complex. We're hoping $5,000 will cover legal fees, but we're already assuming we're going to have to dip into our reserve fund to continue to cover consulting with the lawyers in regards to this ongoing lawsuit. The reason why the lawsuit is there is because of things such as ice buildups and water damage inside bedroom windows due to them being improperly installed and improperly insulated. Ongoing issues with the fire panel due to insulation issues causing water damage and continual electrical malfunctions. Water damage inside the stairwell due to construction issues. The condo doors for the units freezing shut due to ice forming under them due to improper installation and improper insulation. Weather damage to the interior courtyard, as the original design was supposed to have a roof covering it, which never ended up getting constructed. So this is just a sample of the ongoing issues that are occurring with the property that's being addressed in the lawsuit. So when I purchased my unit, because I purchased it as a foreclosure, I was unaware that this was taking place. The bank didn't have the information to pass along to me or my realtor, but I'm very aware of them now. And again, as property taxes is partially based on assessment value, I think it's important to bring to light exactly why my current assessment value isn't terribly accurate and probably doesn't take into account these structural issues that we have been fighting with the builders in a lawsuit for about 6 years now. I don't think it takes into account these property defects. And again, if I chose to put my property on the market tomorrow, I would either have to divulge the fact that you're purchasing a unit that is in a condominium complex in the middle of a lawsuit due to some pretty integral structural and build issues, or when they take a look at what's going on with the reserve fund and they have it revealed to them that there's all of these legal fees that are getting pulled out of the reserve fund to deal with our lawyers and whatnot, I really don't think I'm going to be getting anywhere close to a $227,000 sell price. So with that taken into consideration, I think that my value should be reassessed to take these matters into account.
Thank you very much. Do you have any questions for the applicant?
Okay, so you mentioned that there are structural issues. Has there been any special assessments that have been called for this to take into consideration for the structural problems?
We're working on that at the moment. I know that one thing that we're doing at this point in time is trying to figure out how much it would cost to have all of the doors for the condo units replaced. Unfortunately, all of the door frames are metal. They're surrounded by a stucco outer face, and I'm quite convinced that there's no actual insulation in that stucco outer face. So you have -40 temperatures in Winnipeg that then come into contact with metal doors, that then come into contact with the heat on the inside. You get condensation built up, you get water formation, and then you get the ice dams that form that literally lock people in their apartments. In order to tear out that metal frame, you also have to tear out half of the kitchen cabinets that are built there. Our last quote that we got was about $15,000 per door to get that taken care of.
Okay. And are you aware that the sale at 201-880 Scotland Avenue is also a foreclosure?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but same as mine.
Okay.
Even at the lowered price, you didn't exactly have a bidding war going for it. You couldn't get even $200,000 as a purchase value for it. It sold low because it wasn't a high demand property.
And Unit 103, you were aware that that was also a power of attorney sale?
That I was not aware of. But it still only sold at around, 103 is, yeah, that's because there were two individuals who, I believe, moved out and moved into an elderly home.
I guess so. I have no more questions, thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Rumpel.
Yes, I am wondering, this lawsuit that was initiated, was that initiated subsequent to your purchasing your condo?
I purchased my condo March 2019 of this year. The lawsuit began in 2012, according to the condo board members.
So you were not aware of the lawsuit when you
I
purchased?
was not aware of it when I purchased it, and because I purchased it as a foreclosure, the bank had limited information to give to me in regards to what was going on with the unit, outside of the fact it was a foreclosure, someone couldn't make their payments, and now they had this property to sell.
Can you tell me, for the $10,000 legal fee for the 2019 year, I'm assuming, was that from the reserve fund, or was that a special adjustment?
I'm not certain because I only came into this early in spring, and we didn't even have our first general meeting until I believe it was July of this summer. I'm finding out a lot of information sort of as I go, so I'm not sure if that was something that they had previously budgeted for, but by the sounds of it, they weren't expecting the legal fees to be quite that high. And it was, I'm going to assume, and I could be completely wrong here, I'm going to assume that they probably tried to do the $5,000 budget as they're budgeting for the 2020 year, and unfortunately the legal fees just ended up running higher than they expected.
And do you know what's happening with the $5,000 budgeted for 2020? Is that coming out of a reserve fund?
I think that has been specifically set aside from like the condo fees and whatnot that have been coming in during the year for that. But there's a pretty good chance we may have to dip into reserve fund if, again, it ends up going over.
So you're not sure at this
I'm not sure at this
stage.
point, I'm afraid.
I wonder if I may redirect a question to the assessor. I just have one or a couple of questions. One is, I noted that the assessment for this property has decreased from 2018 to 2020, from 232 to 227. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me, for properties in this area of the city, what the increase or decrease has been in the sales values?
There's a minor negative value, but it's almost close to zero.
So close to zero. Okay, thank you. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Broderick, any questions?
Just a question, are these units all outside door entries? They're not like an
Correct.
apartment,
They're all outside door entry. They are, basically the building is built as a square,
yes.
and inside is the inner square courtyard, which faces the outside, which was supposed to have the roof covering, which never ended up getting constructed. Apparently the builders were unable to get a permit for it, despite the fact when they showed renderings to the original owners when it was getting built in 2011 and they were selling the units, they were shown renderings that had a roof cover. And so there's been a lot of issues with rain coming in and damaging the concrete at the bottom level flooding, because there's only one drain, and they never expected to get that much rain and snow, and the inner areas are rusting out constantly because they're being exposed to elements in a way that they weren't supposed to.
Do you know if the association has made any attempt to contact the assessment branch and ask them to reevaluate, reassess their properties?
I'm certain at this point in time. Again, I haven't really been there that long, and I'm still kind of getting to know everyone in the building.
Those are all my questions. Thank you.
I have no questions, so thank you very much. Leave it with us, and you'll receive our decision in a yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next matter on the docket is 247 River Avenue, Unit 405. Please come forward.
Would you like to swear in or affirm?
405.
Oh, perfect. Could you please state your name? Tanya Martin. And do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes, I do. Thank you. Would you like to swear in or affirm? Could you please state your name? And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Do you have any evidence? Just 5 copies? Yep. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Subject parcel ID is 12097806245. This is condo 240. This condo is located at 247 River Avenue, Unit 405, located in River Osborne. This is a 4-story apartment building built in 2017. It is on one floor. It is 774 square feet. It has 1 bedroom and a den. It has 1 full bathroom, central air conditioning, and a balcony. The 2020 assessment is $243,000. The department has sent out letters because it is a new constructed building as a condo questionnaire for information about the sale purchase prices and verification of this condo. So we have the 2018 sale at $227,609. That was the registered sale on land titles. The homeowner has disclosed the sale was they bought the property for $234,892. I have 4 comparables brought forward to you today. They're all located within the condo complex. All on one floor, 774 square feet, all 1 bedroom and den, 1 full bathroom, 1 central air conditioning. They all have balconies. Sales range between $237,333 to $249,168. All these sales were around the reference are in March 2018. Comparable to, although the registered sale was $249,168, the homeowner of this condo disclosed that they purchased it from the developer from $257,142. Comparable 3, the owner had disclosed that they bought it from the developer for $251,888.08, and comparable 4 disclosed the same purchase price at $251,888.08. Based off of these comparable sales, I believe the assessment is supported.
Thank you very much. Do you have questions for the assessor?
Yes. So the value that you've assessed the property at is based on sales within the area, comparable property?
So for condos in particular, we're looking within the condo complex, and we are looking at a range of sales, right? Homeowners within the condo can negotiate with the developer higher or lower, or having certain amenities or upgrades. So we are trying to keep everybody that purchased the same type of model or same type of unit at as relatively so high, low. We're trying to keep it as close to middle as possible.
But, okay, so what you're suggesting is that the builder sold the place for less than fair market value?
If the homeowners are willing to buy within the condo complex for a set amount, I believe that these units were able to be negotiated.
I've never known of a builder to negotiate like that. Now the thing about it is that to me, builders.
Sorry, sir. Right now, just asking questions. You'll have to turn to give your evidence shortly.
But okay, I was just trying to pinpoint the answer though. So your assessment, I'm just trying to understand how you're basing your assessment, because you pointed out comparable property. So is that what you're basing the assessment on, comparable property?
Yes.
That's my question.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Ms. Rempel?
I'm wondering if the applicant has this comparable sales data sheet.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Just because it is comparable properties within that unit. I wanted to ask a question about the sale price from the developer versus the sale price that is listed here. You indicated for Comp 2 that the sale price from the developer was $257,152?
Oh, no, this is what was disclosed from the homeowner, what they purchased it from the.
So the homeowner paid $257,152?
$257,142.
Sorry, 142.
Sorry.
And so why is the sale price listed here as $249,168?
We found discrepancies. Sometimes developers have, when they register at land titles, they could register either at base price, they could be not including upgrades or the GST.
Okay, so do we know if the disclosure by the homeowner contained the GST?
Yes,
It did.
Yes.
And did you say that this particular condo owner had also disclosed?
Yes.
And what did this condo?
Sorry. The disclosure was $234,892.
Okay, I think that's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Broderick.
So the 234,892 was based on a purchase in 2018, or what was the purchase date of that?
The subject property they purchased or the sale registered in March of 2018.
So the subject property, the sale was 227,609 on the subject property.
That was what was registered through land titles.
So it's assessed at 243.
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure I got those figures all. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I have no questions, so please proceed with your
I
presentation.
have a question for the board. In your opening statement, you were saying that comparable properties, bringing comparable sales forward wasn't evidence.
Comparable sales, yes, we can look at sales data, not at assessments of other
Oh,
properties.
assessment.
Yes,
Okay, I
we
guess
can
I'm
look at
sorry.
sales evidence, but not assessments.
Okay, yeah. Well, basically, what Tanya put forward is basically the argument. I mean, when the builders sell the house, they're selling it at fair market value. You know, they're not selling it below fair market value. A builder goes, when they're selling a place, they're trying to maximize their profits. So I find it absolutely unreasonable to think that 2 weeks later a property is worth more money. I think it's unreasonable to suggest that a builder would sell a house for less than it's actually worth, because they're in business to make money from selling property. They're not going to go and sell property for less than they can get. They're going to maximize the sales. So I think the assessment's flawed in that way. It's a brand new unit. It was a non-arm's length transaction with the builder. You know, it's not like she bought from a relative. It's non-arm's length. And as far as, and you know, I mean, I work for Revenue Canada, and when we're looking at fair market value, we're looking at property sales, property values. We're looking at who did the person buy for, you know, was it advertised, how the whole sale came about. And we're satisfied as far as CRA goes, and I'm not saying that, you know, it's the same, but you know, when a property is sold by a non-arm's in a non-arm's length transaction, generally it's sold for the fair market value, the value at which you can get for that property. And I don't really believe that 2 weeks later that property would increase in value, especially when considering the condo values are dropping in the city. That's pretty much it. Do you have anything else to add?
I mean, no, I think I laid everything out on here clearly. I mean, they gave a blanket assessment for all the suites comparable in the building, so 243,000 was the assessment for all the suites, but I don't have parking. Most of the suites do have parking. That's another thing. Parking was valued at 17,500, so I think that's another. I don't think that I should be assessed at the same value as another suite that does not come with that same feature.
Okay, so just to explain that the assessment department doesn't have an ability at the current moment to actually include or not include parking as part of your suite.
But isn't that part of a purchase price? And I would not be able to sell it for 243,000, the same as my neighbor would with a parking stall. So it's that's a fair comparison, I think.
And also on top of that, in most cases, there's no real distinct stipulation in the Municipal Act that says how we are supposed to assessed with units with parking, as they are usually considered as part of the common elements of a condominium.
But it's not common element, it's something that I
when-
actually own. Common element is something that everyone owns together. Parking is, that's either is my parking, it's the next door neighbor's parking. It's just like if I upgrade to hardwood floor, that's my floor. If it's an upgrade, it's part of my suite, or it's parking, but it's all part of the same purchase price, so.
Well, I would also suggest that two apartments in the same complex, one that has a parking spot and one that doesn't, I would suggest that the one with the parking spot is worth more.
And it's going to have a higher purchase price based on that feature.
I think we've gotten a little out of order here for a minute, so have you finished your presentation?
Yes.
Okay, so now you can ask questions.
I have no questions.
Okay, no questions? Okay, thank you. Ms. Rumpel, do you have any questions?
I am just wondering if there is any knowledge of whether these comparisons 1 to 4 have parking spots along with their condos. Do you know whether any of these other comparables have parking spots included?
I don't know, I mean, the sheet that you provided today?
Yes.
No, I don't know, I mean, I was just given this today, so I'm not familiar with these properties, just offhand.
Okay, that's all my questions. Thank you.
Mr. Grodzik?
I just maybe want to clarify, in your email, the purchase price of the condo was $234,892, right?
Correct.
Here we have subject sale at $227,609. I'm trying to figure out, are we talking about the same thing here?
Yes.
So one is $234, the other is $227. So does the $234 include GST or?
Yes.
Okay. So the actual sale was $227, and the assessment was $230. Okay. No, I've got that. Thank you.
We done?
Yes. Thank you very much. Leave it with us.
That's all, that's it?
That's
Okay, thank you.
this. Okay, the next matter on the docket will be 15 Kennedy Street, Unit 1409. Please come forward. Thank you.
Would you like to swear in or? Yes. Swear in?
Yeah.
Could you please state your name?
Marianne Krieger?
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Could you please state your name? Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Do you have any evidence?
I don't, and let me just start off by saying this is a bit of a unique circumstance. My dad passed away a month ago, and this was his condo. I'm the executor and also will be the sole beneficiary of this condo. I was not given any information on what to bring to this meeting or anything. I've spoken with you, Victoria, but that was my first point of contact, and I've been told nothing about this meeting. So we do have our own evidence. We have 2 copies.
I have my
supposed to
own
be for one
working
each of us.
copy and one for you.
Which you're welcome to have, but like I said, because I was not in the beginning of this process and not aware of what happened up until a certain point, I was not aware that 5 copies were supposed to be brought.
So I apologize for that.
How do you want to do this?
I did forward it to, I think, I forwarded to the board, and they said that they were allowing it
Okay.
as an email. I didn't realize that. I thought they would forward that to you. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't get it.
So we have one working copy at this point that.
I mean, a lot of this will be verbal. And this
Yeah,
is
a lot
back
of it is very
key,
self-explanatory.
but
Yes, you can just submit your evidence verbally to
Okay.
us then.
do you wish to have this one copy? It's just a bunch of comparables, really.
Well, it is what I'm referencing.
You can just submit it verbally, because one
Okay.
copy
Yes.
is...
I'll explain who I am. I am Marianne Krieger. I'm a licensed and bonded real estate agent with the Coldwell Banker.
Sorry, the assessment department goes first.
Oh, I'm
sorry.
so
That's
sorry.
okay. That's okay. Just give me 1 second here.
Out of order.
That's
Okay. Okay, subject property and parcel ID is 120928322600. This is 15 Kennedy Street, unit 1409, located in the Broadway, Assiniboine neighborhood. This is a 17-story apartment complex built in 1980. Is on one floor. It has 840 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 1 full bath, a wall air conditioning unit, and a balcony. The 2020 assessment is $175,000, and I am presenting you today 4 comparable properties, all located in the same condo complex, all 840 square feet, 2 bedroom with one full bathroom, air conditioning unit, and either a balcony or a enclosed balcony. Sales range between $167,749 to $196,000. The sale price per square feet is between $199 a square foot to $233 a square foot. Based off of these comparables, I believe that these sales do support the assessment. I did speak to Jesse earlier on Friday, offering him a value of $145,000. And he said he would get back to me on Monday whether or not he would accept the value. However, he did not get back to me until leaving me a voicemail on Tuesday evening. So I proceeded forward, and upon further review, I do believe that the value does support closer to $175,000.
Thank you very much. Do you have questions?
Yes,
for
I do.
the assessor?
Have you taken into account the location of these units and the views to which they face?
I have not.
Have you taken into account whether there's parking and how many parking stalls there are?
Okay, so the comparable 3 has no parking and is a little bit more dated than the subject property.
And that is in year 2016.
Yes.
Okay. So that one had no parking.
Yes.
Okay. The ones that I could find on here, 606 and 1203, did have parking. The other one is, neither of these are on, the other 2 are on MLS.
601 was on MLS. It was vacant, but then it sold privately. But looking at the condition of the MLS, it was quite similar to the subject.
Okay, now.
Just to confirm on that question, so 2 of these 4 comparatives were sold privately?
No, no, one of them.
Okay, because I couldn't find history on 601 either. So the relevance to where the unit faces was not taken into consideration, nor was actually the parking.
In an appraisal system, we do have whether or not it's where it's facing or what's its exposure. So it is taken into consideration into the system. But when I was reviewing it, I did not consider it.
Okay. So that's my questions.
Okay, great. Ms. Rumpel, do you have any questions?
Yes. I am wondering, have you had the opportunity to inspect this property?
I did inspect this property, yes.
And what kind of condition would you say the property was in?
It was renovated in 2004. It's well kept, fairly well kept. It has an open concept kitchen. It's an L shape. Washroom was well maintained, and there were 2 bedrooms. And the balcony looked like in pretty good shape. It was looking at the it's average for considering it as the property is a rental also.
Which way did the balcony, I'm sorry, it's my question time now.
It's, I believe it was facing towards the back lane overlooking the commercial, so apartments and Edmonton Street.
Okay.
And then the other side, there's also the other side of the building would face the legislative
Right.
building, and there's the south side which could face the river or Assiniboine.
Can you tell me, you said that you had offered 148 as the assessment?
145.
145?
Yes.
And now you think 175 is more appropriate? Could you tell me what you would base that on?
So I was reviewing the older sales. There were stipulations on MLS that there was a special assessments that were three payments of 3 installments that were due, and the final payment was due in 2017. So a lot of them were, or some of the sales were sold vacant, or they were disclosed. They were sold. They're vacant, or they're much more dated, and they weren't, or they were POA. Power of attorney. Thank you.
Okay.
But the particular one was the special assessment that actually affected the sale price earlier.
And can you tell me, does this particular property have a parking spot?
No. That's why I asked the owner.
Thank you.
Mr. Grodzik, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Nor do I, so please proceed with your presentation.
Okay, so comp number 4 has a tandem parking stall, which means it supplies 2 vehicles. It is also south-facing to the river, and as a real estate agent, where it views is very, very important. The west-facing to the grounds of the Golden Boy with the sunsets is far desirable. That is comp number 1, the even number. This one faces, as you're aware of, over the city. The building has had a lot of difficulty as to the east with expireds and withdrawals. In the examples that I gave you that's in the package that I have for you, out of between 2017 to current date, there have been 20 expired and only 10 sales. In the year 2018, which is the assessment date that is assessment for 2018, there were 6 expired and only 3 sales. The majority of the units in that building have parking. There is a substantial difference between units sold with or without parking when you're in the downtown area. The average range runs 30 to 40,000. I have provided information in here that indicates the units that did not have parking. There's only 2 sales other than this one that you have here that did not have parking on the information I had on MLS. Those 2 units sold for $130,500, $132,750, or $135, so with a medium or average price of $132. For the only 2 examples I could glean that were 1-bedroom units. Then I also supplied the average sold price for the 2-bedroom unit or for the same size unit with a parking stall. And the average sale was $173,000. Providing a difference of $40,000 because it didn't have parking. Between the units that had parking and didn't have parking. The one exception that you have here, that's 167, I would really want to verify that that did not have, and in that case it must have been highly renovated. I have also personally sold one in that building in 2015. So if I look at what the most recent sales are, it puts a value at about $132,000, which is I understand you can't take information from beyond that date, but if there's no other information on single bedroom units, it should be absolutely considered somewhat relevant. The unit has not been touched since it was taken over in 2004. And as I'm sure you're well aware, rental units receive a fair amount of wear and tear. They're not necessarily cared for quite like other ones are. Meaning all the surfaces and flooring are original. The kitchen, I believe, is original, right, Jessie? Yeah, completely original, not renovated as it said in the listing. So the kitchen was not renovated. The light fixtures were not updated. It is a dated unit at this point. To bring it up to the standards that we would expect when we're showing the good units, by that I mean they've been done, they would have new flooring. They would have, at the very least, resurfaced cabinets, preferably quartz or granite counters, and updated bathrooms. The units that were sold in 2018 in that building, and there were only 3, were updated units. The 1 bedroom sold for $135. There was one with, or a 2 bedroom. This unit, the subject property, sold for $135. The other 2 ones that had parking sold for $189 and $157. So you can see the difference it makes if something is updated or not updated. As far as where they were viewing, the one that viewed to the Parliament grounds was substantially higher again at $189, and the other one viewed to the city in the same position on that side of the building as the subject property. The closest example is 1209, 2 floors down, no parking, but freshly painted, newer flooring, obviously newer appliances. These appliances are now 16, 17 years old. They're not stainless steel, which is popular. They're just white. So they had also a renovated bathroom, which unfortunately isn't showing in the pictures that I supplied. I did my best to pull as many as I could off of MLS. In my opinion, that unit selling at $135 is our nearest and dearest example of anything that can come close to your 2018 assessment. It should be devalued by $10,000 to $15,000. Given the condition and it needing updating, I would recommend a value of $120 to $125.
Thank you very much. So do you have questions for the applicant?
I would like to submit some rebuttal evidence and information. I have 2 municipal orders regarding the aspect of parking. I have one for 15 Kennedy Street and one order from 55 Nassau regarding parking. Give me a second, I'm sorry.
No worries.
So, you can, so this is 5 and 5 of each. So they do stipulate that that the department, since parking is a common element of part of the common elements of the condo, and on top of that, the Municipal Act doesn't have an actual tool that we can distinctly assess parking from the units. As such, when we're assessing the condo unit itself, it's both as parcel, as the parcel and the common elements, not as just the common elements without.
Can I just hold that for you?
It states it.
And then that one's yours as well.
So if you look at if you look at 55 Nassau Street North, if you go to page 5, with respect to the sale of the parking stall, the board does not take into account a separate value for parking space, but the legislation does not allow it. The Condominium Act states in parts as follows: for the purpose of an and then goes on.
You're aware that condos now are sold with or without parking spaces, and glass house sold.
Okay, just sorry, one second. We'll get to questions on the rebuttal evidence. Just
Okay.
give us 1 second. Okay. You provided us with rebuttal, but we're going to finish questioning of the applicants, and then we will get to the rebuttal evidence once we're finished with the questioning of the applicants. No, that's it. So are you finished? Okay, so do you have any further questions for the applicant?
No, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Rumpel, do you have questions for the applicants?
Yes, I am wondering if you could tell me what the 2018 assessment on this property was.
Jesse, do you know?
No, again, because of the circumstances, I don't have access to that information.
It's been a very difficult time.
It's okay, we can get that
It's literally been a
ourselves.
month.
I can look it up right now if you like.
Can you tell me for the sales that you quoted,
Yes.
and we don't have any evidence in front of us, what the dates of those sales were?
Yes, I have a series of them. I have, for the 3 in that year, the dates are,
The 3 where you said without the parking, the average was around
oh no, I
$130,000?
ran a larger number on that. Those were from 2017 forward to date.
To date, like today's date, or to
Yeah,
April
yeah.
1st, 2018?
Most recent. So I've got dates here running 2018, 2018, 2019, 19, 19, 19.
Okay.
I also then have because these only 2 units that were sold that would be somewhat relevant were sold in 2018 and 2019. So what I was working on there was the difference. What is the actual difference from a unit that sells with parking versus one that doesn't have any? And that's how I established it. I only had 2 of the no parking, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with parking. Those ranged from 150 to 190, with an average selling price of 173, and the range on the other 2 is 130 to 135, with an average price of 132.7. And in that scenario, I did not separate out what side of the building it was on. It was simply to establish what a parking spot, what value a parking spot would bring.
Right. You're aware we cannot consider sales after April 1st, 2018?
I am. This was strictly to establish, like the problem is if you don't consider something, there is one sale in 2018. One building to another building, as you know, are very different. So it's difficult to take other condo sales without parking spots and try to compare them and rate them, because each building offers different options: pool, no pool, storage lockers, no storage lockers, age, of course, of the building. So you have to use this building, and there is a very limited amount of actually direct comparable sales.
Was this condo occupied by the owner, or was it rented out?
Rented at any time.
It was rented out. And how much a month was it rented out for?
$1,000.
1,000? And did that include utilities?
I'm not sure.
Were there any problems renting the condo out?
Yes, been lots over the years. I know we've had lots of difficulty with the condo over the years.
Do you have any evidence to present that there were difficulties, or what the actual rent
No,
was?
again, because this was not my direct dealings, this was him.
Okay.
He's had to evict multiple tenants.
Okay, thank you. Those were all my questions.
Thank you, Mr. Grodzik.
Just trying to keep up with the information you provided.
Sure.
The question was asked about the sales of 130 to 135 for units with no parking. I jotted down when you first presented, those were one-bedroom units, is that correct?
No, I'm sorry, they're two-bedroom units.
Oh, they were
They're
two-bedroom.
all two-bedroom
Okay.
units. If you go on the multiple listing information, some of them are indicated as a one-bedroom, because a lot of these units have just had it open from the living room space to create a dining room, but that actually was originally meant as another bedroom. So some will show the den as a, so this one was actually listed as a one-bedroom. But essentially, closing that wall off and you've got a two-bedroom.
Yeah, the condo unit itself, the one that I own or my dad owns, it's, most people would probably look at it and think it would be a 1+ den. The second bedroom is not very
I
big.
just wanted to make sure that we were talking
Yeah,
two
no,
beds.
it was the
Yeah.
same.
We're talking about the same thing.
Same.
And then you had an updated unit that I think was 189,000
That would,
with parking, I think you said.
that was, yes, with parking.
So, and what you're saying there, it was 189. I'm not sure, I didn't get the date of that sale, but it was an updated unit, also a two-bedroom.
Yes, and it had granite counters, stainless steel
Right.
appliances,
Yeah.
like really done. The
And-
unit I sold in 2015, I sold it for 190, but it was also really done. Like, we're not talking just kind of new floors.
And what was the date of the 189,000 sale?
That was... Single sheet on this somewhere. I'm sorry, I should have
No, I just,
had that. Some of my printouts don't always give me dates. Where's my 2018? It was 1108 is what we're looking for. So 1108? November 2018.
remember to, okay. I think that's all I have for right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My questions have been answered. Okay, so now do you have questions for the assessor about her rebuttal evidence?
Yes, I find it hard to accept when you're basing this on market value to simply say that the Act doesn't allow for that. In many cases now, the fees,
Well, questions.
oh,
Do you have any questions about the rebuttal evidence?
well, how can you consider that market value then?
Depends on the condo board on how they want to arrange the parking, but because the underground parking is, in this particular case, is considered common elements, that it's his unit, and he also ends up having, legally underground that is also, he's also entitled to that, or part ownership of that underground parking, from what I understand. It is between the two owners, from what I understand, that they can exchange the exclusive use of that parking.
Right. So my question is, sure, they can exchange use, but that would occur at a price, would it not? No one's giving free use of a parking space to someone else just for no reason, and it's not their entitlement to it. They may borrow it to them, but to have an entitlement to it, there would typically be a sale, right?
But the sale is not a transaction through land titles.
Okay, here's another question. Just yes or no. Do you think that having a parking space makes a condo unit in that specific condo more valuable than one that does not?
It most likely will, yes.
Right.
Yes.
So how can you not ascribe a value to that?
Unfortunately, we don't have any ability at the moment to be able to include the parking into the overall units.
Do you not think, here's another just yes or no question, do you not think that that is a disconnect in accurately being able to value a property?
We are working on how to find a solution, but at this moment we don't have it, and legislation hasn't built in for it yet.
Well, given what the material has shown here, Would you not agree that that's an unfair assessment?
I can only do the best I can. At the moment, comparable 3 that has no parking, it's dated, it's fair, and it's sold within reference is probably your best representation of the subject property at 1409.
I know this is just about questions of the rebuttal, but I can't help but point out that comparable 1, 2, and 4 are not very comparable at all. So having only one property that, as unfortunately we don't have backup for this one, I would have to take your word on being comparable. It's hard to believe that when, like I said, the other 3 are not. One of them has the west-facing view towards the legislative, and another has a south-facing view and 2 parking units.
Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt. We've already asked questions on that evidence, though, so it's just rebuttal questions at this point. Do you have any further questions on the rebuttal?
I would like to know...
Sorry, ma'am, we can't use our phones right now.
Oh.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I'm wondering,
I can't discuss it.
is there any information indicating accurately that that unit did not have a parking spot? Was it
We were asking questions about the rebuttal evidence right now.
Oh,
We finished the evidence and the questioning. It was just about the rebuttal evidence.
okay. Well, that, right, okay.
And we can't use information off your phone either.
Yes, which I've already
Sorry.
mentioned.
I just wanted to confirm whether that information was accurate. That's
Right,
all.
but you've already asked questions and discussed the evidence.
address
Sir, we've asked the questions. Do you have any further questions about the rebuttal? Okay, thank you. Ms. Rumpel?
I do not. Thank you.
Mr. Rogers?
No, I'm good.
Nor do I. Thank you very much. Leave it with us and you'll receive our decision in the mail. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. There are some remaining matters on the docket, so we will have to take a recess to decide if we're going to hear them.
Right.
So can you please take a 5?
Can we take a 5?
Well, we'll take a short recess and then we'll discuss. We'll multitask.
Don't come in the washroom.
All right, the next matter on the docket will be 775 Mulvey Avenue, Unit 2. Please proceed.
Okay. Parcel ID is 12097740800. 775 Mulvey Avenue, Unit 2, located in the neighborhood area of Old Gray. 2020 assessment roll is 89,000. Okay, what do you want me to read?
No, that's... Oh, you just went too fast for me to even write that down.
I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. The next matter is 511 River Avenue, Unit 101.
Okay. Parcel ID is 12097802850, 511 River Avenue, Unit 101. 2020 assessment roll is 205,000.
Okay, so you just give us 1 second, please. And then 1975 Corridon Avenue, Unit 16G.
Okay. Parcel ID is 12074218400. 1975 Gordon Avenue, Unit 16G. 2020 assessment roll is $197,000.
Great, thank you very much. And we will, oh, sorry, I should have asked if either of you have any questions about any of the,
I have no questions, thank you.
on any of the ones that we just read, Mr. Brodzik?
No question.
Sorry about
Thank you.
that. My apologies. Okay, I will now close the hearing. Thank you very much.